Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Sunday night. We're back with you guys again, and we appreciate you hanging out. Myself, TJ Pittenger, alongside Richie Barnes. A shorter episode this week, a quicker episode. Not as much news, not as much going on. We kept you guys for a long time last Sunday, and then a long time again on Thursday. If you haven't gone back and watched that Jeff Cameron interview, it was fantastic. Jeff is, I said this, and I even titled the episode the same way, but Jeff and Gene Deckerhoff tell the story of the Noles. And so Jeff definitely does that on the radio every day from 3 to 6. He's your drive home guy in Tallahassee. And I know a lot of people listen to him on podcasts and different other platforms as well that maybe aren't in Tallahassee, but go back and listen to that interview with Jeff Cameron. Really, really good. But again, a shorter episode. We'll be quick tonight. We'll blow through some things and then we'll get out of here and let you guys get back to your Sunday night. But Richie, how you doing tonight, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, that Jeff Cameron interview was so much fun on Thursday. I never go back and listen to the podcast because I just hate listening to the sound of my own voice. But I hate listening
to your voice too.
a lot of our listeners probably do as well. But
you made it too easy. You made that too.
Coming back.
You made that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went back and listened to the whole thing, and again, always been a Jeff Cameron fan, but for him to take the time to hang out with us for an hour on a Thursday night, literally right after he just finished doing his 3 to 6 show for ESPN Radio. That was awesome. So, like you said, a shorter show tonight, which I'm sure both of our wives will appreciate that. So we're not just hiding in our offices for too long.
Yeah, my wife's actually in the other room right now getting her hair done. So she doesn't really care. But yeah, like I'm gonna enjoy the shorter episode tonight. So we should be, we'll see, because we always say that and then we go for like an hour. We said that the Jeff thing was only going to be like 15, 20 minutes, and then he just started rolling and ended up being, again, a fantastic show. Jeff was so good. We got so many comments, so much love on that. And the same thing happened when he was on the Big Three roll-up. The same thing happened when he was on the Rollcast. It's just Jeff in a different setting, like a different vibe. It's not just so like news and notes. Like you really get to like know him and understand a little bit more about him. And his perspective is great, obviously being around as long as he has. But, he was so cool. I told him to be like 15, 20 minutes, and then he was on for an hour. And then he and I are like texting afterwards. He's like messaging me back about the Rays game and like just different stuff. Like he's like the classiest dude ever. Can't wait to get to hang out with him again. We've tailgated before. Excited to hang out with him once we get up for Labor Day weekend for that Notre Dame game. But Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. You can visit both their locations at 1818 West Tennessee Street and 2550 North Monroe. Make sure you get your gut box Double Fries No Slaw. It's the only way to order it. And like I said, we'll be up there. I'm thinking about going up for baseball regionals, assuming we host a regional this year. So hopefully can see some people and hang out with some people then. But if anything there goes wrong and that doesn't end up happening, I'm excited to get up for that Notre Dame game. I'm excited to get up there on Labor Day weekend. So get your gut box, tell them we sent you, and enjoy throwing that coleslaw out the window, or just not even ordering the coleslaw. Richie, what'd you do this weekend, man? What'd you have going on?
Not a whole lot. My buddy Cody, I was at his wedding last weekend. He's kind of monopolizing my April. So this weekend was his birthday. So we did a little brewery bar crawl in downtown Orlando. So that was a lot of fun. We took the puppy out to the breweries for the first time getting downtown. And yeah, just had a nice little Saturday. Today was just kind of, your generic work on the house, do the dishes, mop the floors, all that good stuff. But yeah, had a great day downtown yesterday, enjoying some beautiful weather, a little toasty. And just finishing up this renovation on the outside of the house, right? He's outside right now. So if you hear like a saw working or something, you know what's going on.
What brewery bar crawls did you hit? That's like my favorite thing, like to hit like the breweries or the distilleries and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we went to the Persimmon Hollow. It's like a German brewery right on Lake Eola. So anyone who's familiar with downtown, it used to be the Panera right there on Lake Eola. And then a few more, I forget the other names, but it's all like right in that area. They all rode their bikes. We don't have bikes, so we just went along in the car. So we were just doing one beer per brewery because obviously we want to be responsible as well.
So good stuff, man. Yeah, we had kind of a busy weekend. We ran all over town. We had swim lessons for my daughter yesterday. So we were and then we had swim lessons for my daughter yesterday. Then we went to brunch, which was pretty crazy. We went out with some friends after that. We had friends over after that, like it was nuts. And then we haven't been home much today. We went to church first thing this morning, and then we went over to some friend's house, hung out, let our kids hang out with their kids, and now we're over at my mother-in-law's now. I know this isn't my familiar setting that I'm in. We're over at my mother-in-law's now, hanging out. So yeah, we've been on the go all weekend. I'm excited to get to tomorrow and take my foot off the gas and get back to like work, but like taking a breath and going. So, but anyway, yeah, no, glad you guys are with us again. Thanks for hanging out. We've got several people in here now. We'll get going. I want to start out first with this press release, this Apex news that came out from Florida State. I spoke with Allie about this on the Peak to Pit show that I did, about Florida State signing a deal with Apex to now have some name, image, and likeness, NIL, classes, expertise, advice, all of the above kind of given to student athletes. Richie, do you want to kind of give some takes on this? Do you want me to read the press release first? Like how do you want to handle this? But this is what we're starting tonight.
Yeah, no, I love it because obviously in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law a bill that will actually allow athletes, I believe starting June 1st of this year, to actually make money off their name, image, and likeness, which is something that, I mean, it's wild that it's 2021. This is just now happening. You got to think, someone like Peter Work probably wins the Heisman if this was in place back in '99. But yeah, it's awesome. And I love that Florida State is, they're diving all in, head first. They are going out on the forefront. They have been the most aggressive of any school. I don't think I've seen anything from Florida or Miami yet. They're probably taking a wait and see approach, but I love the idea that Florida State says, hey, this is coming. We can push back and fight it, or we can embrace the change. And they're kind of getting out ahead of it and saying, listen, we're going to have an entire program. We're going to have classes dedicated to how you can build your brand, how you can make money off of your name. And I'm excited because from a recruiting standpoint, if a kid's considering, Florida State or somewhere else, obviously recruiting's a dirty game, but Florida State can say, hey, come here. We have a program. We are going to help you make the most money off your name as possible. And, one of the things I saw from the release, and I'm sure you'll get into a little more, but the FSU football has more followers on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook than any school in the state, and the second most in the ACC with 1.3 million combined. I think that's just behind Clemson, who has an outstanding social media department, but South Carolina is not yet on board with this, although I'm sure it's going to come fast. We'll wait and see what the Supreme Court has to say. But again, from a recruiting standpoint, this is a really big deal for Florida State, and they are definitely using it to their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely massive. Like you said, they're like students can actually get credit hours because of courses that they're taking that will heavily focus on the name, image, and likeness bill that has been passed that allows students and athletes to benefit off of their exactly what we just said, NIL, name, image, and likeness. Introductory courses into decision-making, leadership, personal branding, social media strategies, wealth management, just things that are very, my biggest problem with, this is probably a debate or conversation for another day. My biggest problem with college is that very little of it is translatable to, actual skills and things that you're going to use. Right. And that's, a big problem with high school and everything else too. Like just our education system, goes so deep into so many things, and kids get out of school and don't know how to balance a checkbook. Not that you necessarily need to anymore, right? With online banking and stuff. But like that was my complaint. Like when I got out of school, it was like, well, why didn't you teach me like how to file my taxes? No, why didn't you teach me how to, balance a checkbook and how to, just do normal like go apply for a loan. Like nobody taught, like that stuff didn't exist. And so like, this is very intentional. Hey, here's how you can do things to benefit yourselves, right? Whether kids are finishing school out and getting their degree or not, these are classes they can take that if they apply themselves can be massive, not only for their time in school, but then after school as well. We obviously think about the football players and maybe the 2 or 3 basketball players that, get drafted as well at the, this having an impact on them. But the release talked about who's the, man, I lost the name. Dana Castellanos, is that the name?
Yeah, the soccer player. She has like over 1 million Instagram
yeah,
followers.
a million and a half followers. And so it's not just the Tamarian Terrys or the Marvin Wilsons or the guys that like you think like, oh, they're going to, the big guys that you think like, oh, well, they're going to be the ones that, I mean, this can impact everybody. It's about building your brand. And, we all kind of understand how followers work and how influencers work and how people get paid from social media these days and stuff. It doesn't matter if you're the long snapper or the star quarterback, if you can build your brand or playing a different sport, right? That we aren't thinking about. If you can build your brand and build your social media and build your following, you can get paid and you can benefit yourself down the road. And what Richie hit on is so key and so on point. So many times Florida State is the first, and over the last couple of years feels like they've been the first to do things, and it's been not good, But Florida State in this way led the way with something that was just absolutely incredible. They were ahead of Florida, ahead of Miami, ahead of every other in-state school, and really one of the first ones in the country to really put their names to this and say like, okay, we are going to embrace this, and our athletes are going to be better. Like Richie said, there's going to be a trickle-down effect of recruiting, getting a bump from it. No, eventually everybody else catches up, right? Like Florida will do something like this, Miami will do something like this, but it's kind of like when, So I think this is something that's just absolutely massive for Florida State and really cool. Good for Florida State to jump on this and get it going quickly, but also really, really good for the athletes that are here and will come here for not only again now, but going forward. So
yeah, it's, and like you said, obviously we think about football. So you think about what a guy like Jameis Winston could have made in college alone, just in Tallahassee. But like you said, Dana Castellanos from the soccer team, over 1.5 million followers, and she had over 1 million while she was playing soccer at Florida State. So she absolutely could have cashed in on that. And you think of all these other sports, like I don't know if you're familiar with Max Homa. He's on the PGA Tour, but he never really won until the past year or so. But in college and when he first got on the tour, he got Twitter famous almost by roasting people's swings. Like, hey, send me a picture of or a video of your swing. But he was doing that in college. I think it was at Cal Berkeley. And that's something in college that some golf brand would have paid him a lot of money probably to say, hey, put our logo while you're roasting these swings or something. So we all think about football and, it'll be interesting to see how it works because Florida State doesn't know yet. The players don't know. Jamarcus Chapman, not a great football player yet, as far as what we've seen on the field, but he has, I think, over 1 million TikTok followers. That's something that he can now use to cash in. Every sport, it'll be interesting. It's how good is your Twitter game and your Instagram, because you could probably make a couple grand a month if you're not everyone, obviously, but the few that actually figured out and do it, that they're going to do pretty well, even if they never play professional sports. And Florida State saying, hey, we want to help you be that first person.
Yeah, no, it's a massive move for FSU, and really one of the first of its kind. There are a couple of other schools in the country that have similar deals. LSU in Texas have partnerships provided, but they haven't taken it to this level where Florida State has classes that can be taken, can really be taught and get credit hours for learning how to grow your own personal brand. Again, so much more important than unless you're going into this field, like a chemistry class, like the chemistry class I took in college. You know how wasted that was? Like, not only did I waste money on it, it's just, anyway, that's college, that debate is for another time. But like, I took that class because it was required, but I literally have done nothing with it since. So anyway, something that's really, really cool and really groundbreaking and awesome that Florida State is leading the charge on. Some other news and something that we'll get into. Florida State announced their football only facility this week. Just some things around it, right? Like some plans for it. Some what do you call it? It's like some renditions, some artist renditions.
Yeah,
of
like renderings. Yep.
Yeah, like what they expect it to look like. Some really, really cool stuff going on with this. Richie, I'll let you take this, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and we go from talking about how Florida State's way ahead of the curve on this Apex name, image, and likeness. We're a little behind here, but Michael Alford, the Seminole Boosters' new CEO, friend of the show, he's done a phenomenal job fundraising and having a vision. Last week they talked about changes to Doak Campbell Stadium, how they're going to reduce capacity but make it a much more fan-friendly experience. And now they're talking about a football-only facility. They released the renderings. A lot of stuff. I won't get into all of it, but some of the highlights, 13 position meeting rooms, indoor walkthrough meeting area adjacent to player meeting rooms. They'll have a new locker room in there. I'm not sure if they'll keep the one in the Moore, but again, it's going to have everything: dedicated recruiting lounge and suite, offices for the entire coaching staff, private event space that I'm sure they'll rent out. Just a lot of things going on there. It's not going to be, the Taj Mahal of football only facilities, but at Florida State, you don't need the Taj Mahal. You just need to have one because kids are already interested. They already want to come here. And if you can say, yeah, Clemson has a nice slide and a fire pole, but we have the same facility without, that goofy stuff. But again, I'm sure they'll put a barbershop in there. That wasn't in the release, but that shows up in all of them. But it looks really nice, and it's going to be a tight fit right there in between, attaching to the indoor practice facility, right up to Dick Howser Stadium. It's going to be its own unique complex, and I'm sure all the Olympic sports love this as well, because that's going to free up a lot of space in the Moore Center for them, which they all have to share right now. So, and again, we talked about recruiting with the name, image, and likeness. This is a big deal for recruiting because, again, at Florida State, you don't need the best one. You just have to have one. Florida's broken ground. Theirs to be done pretty soon. So, we need to make sure we get this done as well. And Michael Alford is definitely has that vision.
We've talked about it with Michael when he's been on the podcast several times. For better or worse, that's what college football now is. It is the arms race. It is being, and really not just football, but athletics in general. It is that arms race. It's being able to say like, hey, we train with the best. Our nutrition's the best. Our vision's the best. When you talk about the name, image, and likeness deal that they signed with Apex, you've got to be able to sell that complete package, right? It's not just Bobby walking into a living room anymore and saying, hey, I'm going to take care of your son and I'm going to make sure he stays out of trouble and I'm going to, keep my eyes on him and make sure he's a great football player and he's going to go to the league, right? Like, it's not just that anymore, right? Like, you got to do all that and a lot more. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to watch out for your kid while he's away from home. It is, man, what are your facilities like? What are all these things? And so, like you said, Florida State kind of cutting edge on the name, image, and likeness deal with Apex, but has fallen severely behind in regards to facilities. And so, thankfully, Michael Alford is here, and hopefully he's here for a long time at Florida State. But man, what a visionary, and glad that he is leading the charge to get this wrapped up and taken care of, because a lot of really, really cool stuff. I'm excited. Remember they used to do, I don't know if you ever did any or not, but they used to do the booster tours on Friday afternoons before the games on Saturday. Before home games on Saturday, on Friday afternoons, they do booster tours. Hopefully they do booster tours of this thing, because it is going to be really neat. We know some people over there at the boosters, though. So whether they do tours or not, I think me and you will go check this out at some point. But really excited once this gets up and going and running. Obviously, it's not coming right away. But, I mean, there's a lot of things to be excited about. We've talked about the season. We will go ad nauseum about this season, over the next several months. But, man, everything outside of it, man, is so exciting. From the Apex deal, the football-only facility, the renovations coming to Doak, just the vision that the boosters have. They're up over 70% with their One Tribe campaign. So there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of good things going on in Tallahassee. I think the football team is catching up. I think we're going to have a better year this year than we had last year. Again, nobody here is predicting the playoff or even getting to Charlotte at the end of the year, but I think we're going to continue to see steps forward, and we're putting the foundation in. Florida State is putting the foundation in to basically say, well, man, all the cards are on the table, right? Like, we're giving you everything you want from a marketing perspective. We're giving you everything you want from a facility perspective and a football stadium perspective and a game day experience perspective and everything else that Michael has talked about on the show. And now it's just like, man, once the football team puts it in gear, once they get it going, which I think, again, we take a step forward this year, and I think next year is really the year when you see it kind of come to fruition. Then I think that's when it gets fun, really fun here in Tallahassee again. So no, we're not doing an instant recap of the FSU BC game. So
they won the series. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on the football only facility before we get off of that?
Yeah, because you mentioned the booster tours, and I actually did that with my dad once. Because when we had season tickets up there just after I graduated, and I remember going into the Moore Center on game days before the indoor practice facility was built. They would have the renderings right there for all the recruits to see. Like, it was when you walk in, and they didn't have it built yet, but you had those renderings right there. So I'm sure they will do that with this as well. And from a recruiting standpoint, it's helpful because kids are looking to take official visits, and they're trying to figure out where do they want to go. And if they see, they're building something like this, that's an easier thing to say. Because if you're looking at, you only get 5 official visits if you're a recruit, and you're saying, oh, Clemson has this, Alabama has this really nice facility, Arkansas has some of the best facilities anyone's ever seen, and they don't win any games, but they get recruits to visit there because of that stuff, because it's, hey, come see what we have to offer at least. And and that could pay off, as far as rebuilding this roster. We talked a little bit with Jeff about how, that we think the team will be better, but we're still lacking the talent, the elite talent to be able to compete with the Clemson, get to Charlotte, and get back to a playoff. So it's just a lot of great news in 1 week, from the upgrades to Doak that are coming, to the football only facility, and the Apex name, image, and likeness, all kind of came in within 7 days of each other, all right around the spring game. And you mentioned how Florida State's stepping up. One place they've really stepped up is social media. They've done a phenomenal job getting these messages out. The video they did with the name, image, and likeness, the way they presented the football only facility, just a huge step up from a social media standpoint alone, from back when we were embarrassing ourselves putting Nike Vapor gloves on civil rights leaders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Florida State has taken a massive step up on social media, and I believe they now have people running the social medias that actually care about Florida State. So that's a big help as well. Something that has changed from the old regime to the new. So yeah, no, really good news there. Good things happening all around Florida State. Spring wrapped up. We talked about that with Jeff a little bit. Now we get kind of into the dog days of summer. We get to see some of these other sports finish out their seasons. We have kind of tried to keep you updated, at least at some points, on other sports and how they're doing. And so we like to go around the horn with FSU sports and give you little updates here and there. Beach volleyball went 4-0 on the weekend. They are as good as they've ever been. They suffered a couple of defeats a few weeks ago against some really, really good opponents, top 5 opponents, but really, really good beach volleyball weekend, 4-0 this weekend. Baseball won their series 2-1, lost today's matchup with Boston College, but did win that series. Softball swept Syracuse. I think that was a 4-game series, if I'm not mistaken. And then women's tennis heads to the ACC tournament as the number 2 seed. That will take place this week. I was talking with Coach Hyde before the show, and she told me, hopefully I'm not like breaking any rules or any news or anything like that. She's going to stop telling me stuff if this is getting her in trouble at all. But she told me that it does look like Florida State will most likely end up hosting the first and second rounds in Tallahassee. So for those not familiar with how how women's tennis playoffs work, it's much like softball and baseball, like where you play your conference tournament and then you go, you have regionals per se. Well, yeah, they're called regionals, and the top seeded teams in the country would play those at home in an effort to limit the travel. I don't believe there's a super regional this year. They're going to play the Sweet 16 and beyond in Orlando. So Richie and I talked about it. They make the Sweet 16, which we expect them to. I think they will, as a top 5 program in the country. It'd be cool to go over there and see them. So it's a ticketed event, hopefully 50% capacity, maybe 100% by then. We don't know how May is going to look just yet, but it'd be cool to go see them. So if you're in the Central Florida area and they make the tournament, go out and support them. Richie and I will be there, and there's no Guthries in there, so we won't buy you any food, but we'll come say hi and maybe bring you like a koozie or something. I also saw, a team that has not gotten a lot of run because their season was so weird this year. Women's soccer, the number 1 team in the country, they stopped playing at the end of 2020 and have just been waiting for their tournament to happen. Their tournament is going to begin late April, so April 27th. We'll have a show before we get to their tournament starting, but their tournament's going to happen in a little over a week from now. Their selection show is tomorrow, April 19th, or today if you're listening to this in podcast form. So they should I mean, they're the number one team in the country, so they should get a pretty good seed. And then the first round is, like I said, in about a week and a half. Second round later that week. Third round the next week, and then the quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship shortly after that. So their tournament runs from like end of April to like middle of May. Championship would be like May 17th. So fun things there, Coach.
Krikorian. Yeah, we need to get him on the show.
Yeah, as soon as they win the national championship, we'll have him on for sure. I don't want to mess with them before then. But they are fantastic, number one team in the country. And so, again, they don't get a lot of love because their season was cut up and so short and weird this year with COVID and everything else. But thank God things are getting back to normal now and are pretty normal in a lot of places. So they will be a fun team to follow over the next few weeks as that is going on. But there's your little FSU sports update of what's going on with other teams. We're still waiting on the what am I thinking of, Richie? Why can I not? On that basketball commit. That didn't end up happening yet, did it?
No, he's Epton Reed. He was supposed to commit Thursday when we were recording with Jeff. Actually, it never happened. It didn't happen Friday, and his mom said he's pushing it back a little bit. I don't know if that's good or bad for Florida State. I tend to think it's probably good because we literally just got back into his recruitment with the news of Balsa Koprivica declaring for the draft. So I think that's hopefully a good thing for us. But we're up against LSU, who has a head coach who, was on the recording saying he pays his players, and he's still the head coach there. So we know we got an uphill climb as far as that goes.
Another thing that we didn't talk about, which we'll just mention this really, really quickly. We talk a lot about people becoming boosters. Like we said, we talked about how Florida State had hit over 70% of their donations. In fact, while we're talking right now, this is the beauty of live radio right now. I can kind of look it up and see if they put out a new update since after the spring game. I don't see it. I don't see what the update would have been this week. I don't see it going out, but I will check in with them and see if we can get an update on it. But as far as we last knew, not Saturday just passed, but on the 10th, they were at like 70% of the way to their goal. I would imagine they took a little bit of a jump after that. So hopefully we're around 75, 80% after the spring game and got some good commitments there. But almost to their goal. One of the cool benefits right now is that series. Somebody mentioned it in the chat. Brandon mentioned it in the chat. That Brewster only video series has been fantastic. They're not super long episodes. They're like 10, 12 minutes, but they're shot very, very well. It's very much like the Showtime series that you remember in 2016, but a little bit more behind the scenes. Like the Showtime series, I thought, and Richie, we've never really kind of like talked about this on the show. I didn't think the Showtime series was great. And it was good for what it was, but as somebody that was so like tuned into the program and so none of it was like breaking any news for me, right? Like it was very high overview, high level, like here's what's going on at Florida State, which was fine if you weren't a Florida State fan. If you were a Florida State fan, like you knew every single thing that had happened. Yeah, you missed. I mean, like you didn't know some like the silly banter that'd be going back and forth between like Eberle and some different guys, but like whatever, like they're college kids. I'm sure they're funny, but like this is really, really good, really, really insightful. You get to know some of these coaches and some of these players, and you get some of their personality, a lot of roster turnover. And so, I don't think people are going to go out and sign up to be boosters because they're putting a, 10-minute video out every couple of weeks. But I will tell you, like, it is really, really cool. And so again, we tell you every week, you can go to boosters.fsu.edu and you can sign up for $5 a month. You can pledge and be a booster, support these kids, support these athletics, support these initiatives that Florida State's got going on. And it's nice when they reward you with some little things like the little mini series that they've got going around right now. The 2 episodes have come out so far, both fantastic. The last episode said was we on fries. So it was all about us. All about us. Double fry. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't, but it was, but I screenshotted it and clipped it and said that was what it was about. So shout out to FSU, the boosters, and everybody in the production team that's running those things. Those things are fantastic, and I look forward to them every single week. But again, yeah, this one's being wheat on fries was pretty fantastic.
I'm really looking forward. So this week on the 21st, the one that's releasing is all about Mackenzie Milton and his comeback. And I know our fans are gonna love that. They've been great so far. Like you mentioned, the Showtime series, it was cool for the exposure for the program, but it kind of sucked. Like after we, lost to Louisville 63-20 and had to watch it. And it was a blast to watch after the Orange Bowl and after the game. So for me, that series was only as good as the game we played that week. Like I did not enjoy the post North Carolina one. I did not enjoy seeing promise notes, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. But this one, it's nice because like you mentioned, it's made for your hardcore Florida State fans, the people who want to donate to the program and help them out, because it's been a phenomenal show so far. Like I said, really looking forward to Mackenzie Milton's comeback this week. Then the last few episodes are going to do FSU's Pro Day, the NFL Draft, the staff, and then May 19th will be the final one. It's all about Coach Norvell, which I'm really looking forward to. And hopefully we can, twist someone's arm and get him on the podcast here in the near future.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Somebody commented that even though if it's an FSU pod, I think Messi getting banned from the 2022 World Cup gets a comment. I'll give you the shout out for the comment. I don't know a ton about the Europa Super League that's coming out that they're talking about.
$6 billion league. That'd be nuts.
Yeah. So I'm not very well researched into it, but I do think that UEFA and FIFA are both absolute shams and terrible organizations. And so I have no problem, if we found out that the NBA was as corrupt as like FIFA and UEFA and stuff like that are, like FIFA's like literally killing people like to have them build stadiums for World Cups and stuff like that. So like if we found out the NBA or the NFL was like as corrupt, and they very well may be, but like if we found out they were that corrupt and like LeBron and KD and all them said like we're going to start our own league because you guys are corrupt, like nobody would say anything about it, But I'm not saying that Messi and those guys, like these teams are doing the right thing or the wrong thing out there in Europe. But I don't really care as long as I get to watch, the GOAT play here and there. That's fine. So the fact that Messi won't be in the 22 World Cup doesn't really matter because Argentina is so terrible that like they just let me down every time I try to watch them anyway. So maybe the USA can sneak into their spot.
So I don't get into it a whole lot, but I saw he had 30 goals for his 13th consecutive season. That's pretty nuts, man. And I'm not even a huge soccer guy, but that's wild.
Yeah, it's this being an FSU pod, everybody like tuning in. It's like, man, what in the world are they talking about? Yeah, he is absolutely like I am such a homer, right? And so like the big debate is Messi or Ronaldo. If you ask Messi fans, they say if you ask Messi fans, they all say that he's the greatest. If you ask Ronaldo fans, they all say that Ronaldo is the greatest. And if you ask anyone else on the planet, they say Messi's the greatest. So, I mean, that, and that's not just my like clever way of saying like, oh, it's Messi, but like the fact that he's the best dribbler in the world, the best passer in the world, and the best finisher is just ridiculous. Like it's like the Gretzky stat. Like if you took away all of his goals, he'd still have the most points in NHL history. Like that's kind of like if you told Messi like he could just never shoot again, he would have more successful dribbles and more assists than anyone else. But you don't have to tell him that because he already has more successful dribbles and more assists than everybody else in the world. So it's just like the fact that he has been able to do this in such a long time for such a at such a high level is really insane. It kind of blows all logic. He's coming to the end of his career for sure. Like he's winding down, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. So they won a trophy yesterday. They played in the Spanish Cup, and it's called Copa del Rey. They played in the Spanish Cup and won that. I think it was 4-0, 5-0. So a lot of fun there. So shout out to my guy.
Maybe I can get him at Orlando City for 2 years, like we had Kaká when we started the program.
Dude, yeah. If he comes to Orlando or Miami, like I'm definitely going to be going to some of those games. So shout out to my guy for bringing up Messi on this FSU podcast and getting me to talk about him. Speaking of shout outs, do you have anything before we get out of here?
Not really. I guess real quick, shout out Kenny Shaw. He's had a camp for the Orlando youth, probably like 5 minutes from my house yesterday at Dr. Phillips High School. Really cool. So, Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, a lot of former greats out there. So it's just cool to see, a former Nole giving back to the community and being able to host a camp at his high school where he played. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, really good on Kenny Shaw. So like you said, a lot of former FSU guys out there, obviously headlined by Jameis. He's the big name anywhere he goes. But Dak Prescott being out there was really cool too. And then of course some other FSU guys, some other legends and stuff that have contributed to FSU and stuff. So that was really, really cool to see. Devontae was out there. There were some big ones for sure. So good on Kenny. And then I'll use my shout out again for the boosters, man. We try to show them a lot of love. We try to show them we appreciate what they do. We appreciate the vision that they have. We're not like traditional media. We're not we're not getting rich off this thing. We're not 247. We're not War Chant. There's nothing wrong with those programs, or there's nothing wrong with those entities. I'm really good friends with Newberg and Sonone, and have nothing but respect for those guys. But that's not our game on this. We are two Florida State fans that want to see Florida State succeed and thrive. And so we don't ask you to give us money. We don't ask you to give us anything for these podcasts or anything like that. We would rather you take that to the boosters and, instead of paying for us or any other kind of Florida State media, we would say put that back into the school and put that back into the athletic program. So boosters.fsu.edu. Again, nothing wrong if you do pay for content in any kind of way. You could pay me if you want. You can slide into my DMs. I'm sure I'll take it.
But, hit the merch store and get a double fried no slosh shirt.
Yeah. But we try to shout them out. We try to direct funds that way because that's what's most important to us is that the program succeeds and thrives. And so boosters.fsu.edu, let's get that to 100%. Let's get that to goal. And man, that's the way to get this back on track is for us to all be kind of pointing in the same direction. Man, I played the montage on Thursday, so I think it was your suggestion, but I played it anyway. So I'm taking that. Do you have a song for us tonight? Do you have anything going?
I'll text you afterwards. I have nothing off the top of my head.
I feel like you just leave these people in such suspense when you don't have a song ready. We need to have a song ready so I can play it out on the way when we go out from the live show. But anyway, it's all good. So we will be back next Sunday night. I don't think we're doing. Oh, we've got a special guest next Sunday night. I'm not going to say who it is.
Yeah, big time.
But we're bringing a little bit of heat next Sunday night. Kind of just like nonchalantly said that. We could have a pop-up show before this, with another guest or two, but we'll keep you updated on that. But yeah, next Sunday night you're going to want to tune into this one. So. Be here live next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And until then, we'll see you guys later. Go Noles.